Two tech giants, billions of dollars at stake, and a battle so ruthless that sabotage, stolen drivers, and billion-dollar losses became the new normal. This isn't just a story about ride-sharing, it's a story of cutthroat competition, sabotage, and the race to dominate the streets of every city. From secret operations to game-changing legal fights, Uber and Lyft didn't just disrupt the taxi industry, they went to war with each other. But who's really winning? And at what cost? Buckle up, because this isn't your ordinary business rivalry. This is the brutal war between Uber and Lyft. Chapter 1. Background and Origins. Uber, founded in 2009 by Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, started as a luxury black car service in San Francisco, which quickly expanded to a broader audience through its smartphone app. Lyft, founded in 2012 by Logan Green and John Zimmer, began as a more casual and community-oriented service, with a strong emphasis on carpooling and short trips within cities. Uber entered the market a few years earlier than Lyft and quickly became known for its disruptive approach. Unlike traditional taxi services, Uber provided a seamless app-based experience where riders could summon cars with a few taps. Uber's success was fueled by the explosive growth of smartphones, which made it convenient for users to hail rides. Lyft, on the other hand, initially gained attention with a more friendly and laid-back approach, featuring cars adorned with pink mustaches and promoting a sense of community between drivers and passengers. While Uber focused on scaling quickly and capturing market share by providing premium services and later launching UberX, its low-cost alternative, Lyft tried to set itself apart by marketing itself as the anti-Uber, a more driver-friendly and socially responsible company. Chapter 2. The initial competitive landscape. By 2014, both companies were directly competing for market share in the U.S. ride-hailing industry. The competitive landscape became heated as both Uber and Lyft aggressively expanded into new cities. One of the defining moments of this rivalry was Uber's notorious launch strategy, which often ignored or skirted regulations in cities where taxi laws were rigid. Uber's aggressive expansion included facing legal battles and protests from traditional taxi companies, as well as city authorities across the globe. Uber's strategy was simple: enter a city, offer aggressive discounts to quickly capture market share, and face the regulatory consequences later. This willingness to defy local laws gave Uber a significant edge over competitors, including Lyft, which tended to be more cooperative with city regulators. Chapter 3. Sabotage allegations and dirty tactics. In the battle for market dominance, Uber has often been accused of using questionable and sometimes downright sabotage tactics against Lyft. One of the most notorious stories is Uber's Operation SLOG, an internal campaign designed to disrupt Lyft's business. According to reports, Uber employees and contractors would order Lyft rides, only to cancel them right before the driver arrived. This caused confusion and frustration among Lyft drivers and created inefficiencies in the company's operations. It is estimated that Uber employees and contractors canceled over 5,000 Lyft rides as part of this strategy. This disruption was meant to create a bad experience for both drivers and passengers, with the aim of pushing drivers to switch to Uber's platform for more stable income. In response to these allegations, Uber denied orchestrating a deliberate sabotage effort, but the damage had been done. The rivalry escalated, with both companies constantly undercutting each other in pricing, offering aggressive incentives for drivers to switch platforms, and launching promotional discounts for passengers. Chapter 4. Pricing wars and financial losses. One of the defining features of the Uber vs. Lyft rivalry has been the price war. Both companies have engaged in extensive discounting, offering cheap rides to users in an attempt to gain market share. While this strategy helped them attract millions of users, it came at a heavy financial cost. Uber, in particular, has burned through billions of dollars in pursuit of market dominance. In 2016, Uber reported a loss of nearly $3 billion as it poured money into subsidies, discounts, and driver incentives. This strategy, while successful in making Uber the largest ride-hailing company in the world, was financially unsustainable in the long run. Lyft also reported significant losses, though on a smaller scale, as it struggled to compete with Uber's ability to raise enormous amounts of venture capital. As of 2020, both companies were still grappling with significant financial losses. Uber had raised more than $24 billion from investors, but was yet to turn a profit. Lyft, on the other hand, had raised approximately $4 billion. Despite being smaller, Lyft's financial position was slightly better due to its more focused U.S. presence and fewer costly international expansions. Just when you thought the price wars were burning cash faster than anyone could imagine, the real battle was about to heat up on the ground. What if I told you that the war for drivers wasn't just about bonuses? Secret tactics, aggressive poaching, and massive payouts were all part of the plan to wipe out the competition. Uber and Lyft's next move, it would change the entire landscape of the gig economy. Chapter 5. Driver Recruitment Battles. The Uber versus Lyft rivalry has also played out in the form of driver recruitment. Both companies have relied heavily on independent contractors as drivers, offering various incentives such as bonuses for signing up, guaranteed earnings, and other perks. In the early days, Uber offered significantly higher bonuses for drivers who switched from Lyft, sometimes as much as $1,000 for completing a certain number of rides within a specific time frame. Lyft retaliated by offering its own bonuses, leading to a costly and constant tug-of-war over drivers. The companies also offered promotions like guaranteed hourly wages, benefits, and flexible work hours, which appealed to a growing pool of gig workers. In some cities, Uber even offered cash bonuses of $500 to $1,000 to Lyft drivers who defected, further intensifying the competition. However, this war over drivers took a toll on the finances of both companies. The high incentives, combined with the need to constantly provide bonuses and promotions, were unsustainable. By 2019, Uber had spent $3.5 billion on driver incentives alone, further contributing to its financial woes. Chapter 6. Market Expansion and International Strategy. While Lyft has primarily focused on the U.S. market, Uber's ambition has always been global. Uber expanded aggressively into international markets, often at a great financial cost. In regions like China and Southeast Asia, Uber spent billions of dollars trying to outcompete local rivals like Didi Chuxing and Grab. However, Uber's international ventures often ended in costly defeats, forcing the company to sell its operations to local competitors. In China, Uber lost over $1 billion annually before selling its operations to Didi Chuxing in 2016. Similarly, Uber sold its Southeast Asia operations to Grab in 2018 after struggling to compete in the region. These international missteps gave Lyft an opportunity to capitalize on Uber's distractions abroad by solidifying its presence in the U.S. Lyft's strategy of focusing solely on the U.S. helped it avoid many of the costly battles Uber faced in foreign markets, allowing Lyft to operate with a smaller but more efficient footprint. Despite this, Lyft has always been the smaller player, with Uber controlling approximately 70% of the U.S. ride-hailing market compared to Lyft's 30% share as of 2020. Chapter 7. Regulatory Battles and Proposition. 22. One of the most significant challenges both companies have faced is the regulatory scrutiny over their business model, particularly the classification of drivers as independent contractors rather than employees. This issue came to a head in California with the introduction of Proposition 22 in 2020. Proposition 22 was a ballot initiative in California that aimed to exempt gig economy companies like Uber and Lyft from a state law, AB 5, that would require them to classify their drivers as employees. Both companies argued that their drivers preferred the flexibility of being independent contractors, while labor advocates pushed for employee status, which would provide benefits like health insurance and paid leave. Uber and Lyft, along with other gig economy companies, spent a combined $200 million to support Proposition 22, making it the most expensive ballot measure in California's history. The initiative was successful, with 58% of voters supporting it. This win allowed Uber and Lyft to continue their business model without the financial burden of reclassifying drivers as employees, though the debate over gig worker rights continues to rage. Chapter 8. Leadership Changes and Company Culture. The rivalry between Uber and Lyft has also been shaped by the personalities of their leaders and the cultures within each company. Uber's early success was driven by Travis Kalanick, whose aggressive win-at-all-costs mentality defined the company's culture. However, Kalanick's leadership style also led to numerous scandals, including allegations of a toxic workplace environment, sexual harassment, and regulatory violations. In 2017, Kalanick was forced to step down as CEO following a series of controversies, including a viral video in which he argued with an Uber driver. He was replaced by Dara Khosrowshahi, who sought to improve Uber's public image and steer the company towards profitability. Khosrowshahi's leadership has been more measured and focused on sustainability, in contrast to Kalanick's rapid, often reckless, growth strategy. Lyft's leadership, in comparison, has been more understated. Co-founders Logan Green and John Zimmer have cultivated a more positive public image for Lyft, positioning the company as the socially responsible alternative to Uber. Lyft has largely avoided the scandals that plagued Uber and has been praised for fostering a more driver-friendly environment. Chapter 9. IPO and Stock Market Battle. In 2019, both Uber and Lyft went public in what became one of the most highly anticipated IPOs in recent memory. Lyft went public first in March 2019, raising $2.3 billion and giving the company a market valuation of around $24 billion. However, the stock price soon fell, and by the end of 2019, Lyft's valuation had dropped to around $13 billion. Uber followed with its IPO in May 2019, raising $8.1 billion with a valuation of around $82 billion, though its stock also underperformed in the months following its debut. Both companies face significant pressure from investors to become profitable, a challenge given their massive losses from subsidizing rides, driver incentives, and expansion costs. As of 2020, neither company had achieved profitability, though both have taken steps to cut costs and streamline operations. Uber, in particular, has diversified its business by expanding into food delivery, Uber Eats, freight, and autonomous vehicles, while Lyft has focused on ride-hailing and micro-mobility services like scooters and bikes. Chapter 10. Future Outlook. The future of the Uber versus Lyft rivalry remains uncertain, as both companies continue to face significant challenges, including regulatory scrutiny, the ongoing push for profitability, and the rise of autonomous vehicles, which could eventually disrupt the entire ride-hailing industry. If you found this video interesting, I know you'll love the video on screen now about the greatest con man of all time. He literally sold an entire country that never existed. Click the video now to watch. See you there.